Before Rome became a republic of powerful senators and later an empire ruled by emperors, it was a fragile settlement rising from the hills beside the river Tiber. Imagine a time when the city had no marble temples, no colosseum, no vast legions marching across continents, only wooden huts, scattered tribes, and a bold experiment in leadership. Who were the men who first ruled Rome? Were they visionary builders who laid the foundations of greatness, or ambitious monarchs whose hunger for power shaped Rome as destiny in ways no one could foresee? Between 703 BC and VV 9 BC, Rome was governed by 7 kings during what historians call the Regal Era. This was the age when the Senate was first formed, when Rome's early army took shape, when religious traditions were established, and when the social order of patricians and plebeians began to define Roman life. Influenced by Latin, Sabine, and Etruscan cultures, these early rulers transformed a small riverside village into a growing urban power. Their achievements and their failures would ultimately spark a revolution that changed Roman history forever. Romulus, the legendary founder of Rome, stands at the beginning of the city's royal history. According to tradition, he and his twin brother Remus were raised by a she-wolf before deciding to establish a new city. After a dispute over leadership, Romulus killed Remus and became Rome's first king in 753 BC. While the story carries mythological elements, it reflects Rome's belief in strength, destiny, and divine favor. Romulus organized the early population into tribes and created Rome's first senate, selecting 100 elders to advise him. He also formed the early Roman legions, giving the city a strong military identity from the start. To increase population, he offered asylum to outsiders and orchestrated the famous abduction of the Sabine women, leading to conflict and eventual alliance with the Sabines. By the end of his reign, Rome had grown from scattered huts into a structured community. Romulus symbolized courage, authority, and expansion, setting the tone for Rome's future as a warrior society built on discipline and ambition. Numa Pompilius, the second king, was very different from Romulus. Where Romulus was a warrior, Numa was a man of peace and religion. Chosen for his wisdom and calm nature, Numa sought to stabilize Rome after years of conflict. He established many of Rome's most important religious institutions, including priesthoods such as the Pontifex Maximus and the Vestal Virgins. He reorganized the Roman calendar, aligning it more closely with religious observances, and introduced rituals that emphasized discipline, morality, and respect for the gods. Numa believed that Rome's strength depended not only on military power but also on divine favor and internal harmony. Under his rule, Rome experienced relative peace, allowing its society to develop spiritually and culturally. By strengthening religious traditions, Numa laid the moral foundation of Roman identity. His reign demonstrated that Rome's greatness would depend as much on order and belief as on conquest and warfare. The third king, Tullus Hostilius, returned Rome to a path of military aggression. Unlike Numa, Tullus believed that strength and expansion were essential for survival. His reign was marked by wars, most notably against the neighboring city of Alba Longa. The famous duel between the Horatii and the Curiatii symbolized this conflict, highlighting Roman courage and loyalty. After defeating Alba Longa, Tullus destroyed the city and transferred its population to Rome, increasing its size and influence. He strengthened Rome's military structure and expanded its territory, reinforcing the idea that Rome's destiny lay in conquest. However, Tullus reportedly neglected religious practices, which according to legend, angered the gods. His dramatic death, said to be caused by divine lightning, served as a warning about ignoring sacred traditions. Tullus Hostilius embodied Rome's aggressive spirit, proving that military expansion would remain central to Roman identity for centuries. Ancus Marcius, the fourth king, sought balance between war and religion. Believed to be a descendant of Numa, he respected religious traditions while also defending Rome's interests. Ancus expanded Rome's territory through calculated military campaigns, but also focused heavily on infrastructure and economic growth. One of his most important achievements was the founding of Ostia, Rome's first port at the mouth of the Tiber River. This development strengthened trade and improved access to resources, increasing Rome's wealth and strategic power. He also built bridges and fortified the Janiculum Hill, improving the city's defenses. Under Ancus, Rome became more organized and economically stable. His reign demonstrated that Rome's strength relied not only on war but also on trade, planning, and smart governance. By combining religious respect, military action, and infrastructure development, Ancus Marcius helped transform Rome into a growing regional power with expanding influence. Tarquinius Priscus, the fifth king, introduced strong Etruscan influence into Roman society. Originally from Etruria, he rose to power through ambition and intelligence. His reign marked a period of significant urban development. He expanded the Senate, increasing its membership and political importance. Tarquinius initiated major construction projects, including the Circus Maximus, which became Rome's central venue for public games and entertainment. He also began work on large drainage systems like the Cloaca Maxima, improving sanitation and allowing further further urban growth. Under his leadership, Rome adopted symbols of royal authority, including the purple robe and ceremonial insignia, reinforcing the power of the monarchy. Tarquinius strengthened Rome both politically and architecturally, shaping it into a more sophisticated city. His reign highlighted how outside cultural influences, particularly from the Etruscans, played a crucial role in Rome's early development and transformation into a structured urban center. Servius Tullius, the sixth king, is remembered for his groundbreaking political and social reforms. Unlike earlier kings who focused mainly on warfare or construction, Servius reorganized Roman society itself. He conducted Rome's first census, dividing citizens into classes based on wealth. This classification determined military service and political representation, creating a system that connected property ownership with civic duty. Servius also reorganized the army and expanded the city's boundaries, building what became known as the Servian Wall to protect Rome. His reforms gave greater structure to Roman governance and allowed broader participation in political processes, although power still favored the wealthy. By reshaping Rome as political organization, Servius laid important foundations for the later republic. His reign demonstrated a shift from purely royal authority toward a more systemized and institutional form of governance that would influence Roman politics for centuries. The seventh and final king, Tarquinius Superbus, known as Tarquin the Proud, ruled with arrogance and tyranny. Unlike previous kings, he reportedly seized power through violence and ruled without seeking approval from the Senate. He eliminated political opponents and relied on fear to maintain control. Although he completed impressive projects such as the Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, his harsh leadership created resentment among Rome's elites and citizens. The turning point came with the tragic story of Lucretia, a noblewoman assaulted by the king's son. Her suicide and the outrage that followed ignited a rebellion led by Lucius Junius Brutus. Tarquinius' refusal to govern justly ultimately destroyed the monarchy itself. His reign demonstrated how unchecked power could destabilize a state and unite people against tyranny. In 9 BC, the Roman monarchy came to an end. The royal family was expelled and Rome transitioned into a republic governed by elected officials rather than kings. This revolution marked a decisive shift in Roman political culture. While the kings had built Rome's military, religious, and civic foundations, their final failure proved that Romans would no longer tolerate absolute rule. The Senate gained greater authority, and 2 consuls were elected annually to prevent concentration of power. The fall of the monarchy did not erase the achievements of the Regal era. Instead, it transformed them into the framework of a new system. The legacy of the 7 kings lived on in Rome's institutions, traditions, and identity. From humble beginnings under Marx, Rome was now ready to begin its next chapter 1, that would eventually lead to dominance across the Mediterranean world. The Regal Era of Rome may have lasted just over 2 centuries, but its impact shaped everything that followed. From Romulus' bold foundation and creation of the Senate to Numa's religious institutions, the military expansions of Tullus, and the infrastructure projects of Ancus, each king added a vital layer to Rome's identity. The Etruscan influence under Tarquinius Priscus modernized the city, Servius Tullius reorganized society and planted early seeds of political structure, and even the tyranny of Tarquinius Superbus played a crucial role. Because his fall gave birth to the Roman Republic, these 7 kings transformed Rome from a cluster of huts into an organized, fortified, and spiritually unified city-state. They built its army, its religious traditions, its political foundations, and its ambition. When the monarchy collapsed in 9 BC, Rome did not fall with it. Instead, it evolved. The lessons of the Regal Era about power, leadership, faith, and resistance remain deeply embedded in Roman culture. The age of kings ended, but the story of Rome was only just beginning, and the Republic would carry forward the legacy of those first rulers into a future of expansion, conflict, and greatness.